All right, so today we're diving deep into Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature.
Oh, yeah, classic.
It is, and we always say think before you act, but
Easier said than done.
way easier said than done, and that's what we're exploring today. Like, why is that so much harder than it sounds? And specifically, we're going to tackle this idea of irrationality. That with that sneaky way, our emotions kind of hijack our decisions, when we least expect it.
Yeah, it's true. We often like to think of ourselves as these logical creatures.
Right.
But the reality is our emotions are incredibly powerful forces, and we're not always aware of how they're influencing us.
So let's break this down a little bit more. Greene talks about this illusion of rationality.
Right.
So what exactly does that mean?
Well, it doesn't mean that we're completely oblivious to our feelings.
We're not walking around, totally out of touch.
No, exactly. It's much more subtle than that.
Okay.
It's really, I like to think of it as a kind of mental sleight of hand.
Yeah.
Where we convince ourselves that our choices are based on, you know, pure logic and reason.
Mm-hmm.
But if we kind of peel back the layers a little bit,
Yeah.
what we often find is that there are these underlying emotions, like fear or desire, or even just, deeply ingrained habits that are actually pulling the strings.
So it's not that we're not aware of them, but it's almost like we reinterpret them.
Yeah.
We dress them up as logic when it's not.
Yeah, we try to rationalize them in a way that makes us feel better.
Okay. So that's kind of unsettling.
It is a little bit unsettling.
Yeah. So what's the big deal then? So we, buy an extra pair of shoes on sale, or we have, a little too much dessert. Where's the real harm in that?
Well, I think you have to think about the cumulative effect of all those seemingly small, irrational choices.
Okay.
They can really add up.
Yeah.
They can lead to financial strain, relationship conflicts, missed opportunities, even poor health outcomes.
Oh, okay. So now you're making me sweat a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's not just about overspending or indulging our sweet tooth.
No.
This irrationality can impact every aspect of our lives.
Absolutely every aspect. And the Greene really drives this point home with some compelling examples, particularly from history.
Okay.
He contrasts Pericles, the Athenian leader, with some other rulers who, weren't quite as successful.
Okay.
And I think it's because they let their emotions kind of run wild.
Gotcha. So Pericles, he was more level-headed.
Yeah, he was known for his composure, his ability to kind of think strategically, even under pressure.
Right.
Whereas these other rulers, they let pride and anger and jealousy kind of dictate their decisions.
Okay, so I'm sensing that didn't end so well for those other rulers.
Not exactly, no. It led to some pretty disastrous outcomes, both for themselves and for the people they were leading.
Yikes. All right, so that's a cautionary tale if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
So how do we avoid falling into that trap?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
Well, Greene offers some solutions, thankfully.
Okay.
And he really stresses self-awareness as that first line of defense.
Okay.
And what that means is paying close attention to your emotional landscape throughout the day. Notice what triggers you.
Right.
What patterns do you see in your reactions?
Okay.
Because by understanding those triggers,
Yeah.
you can start to anticipate
Right.
those moments when you might be prone to react impulsively.
Okay. That makes total sense. But
Yeah.
recognizing those patterns, that sounds like a lot of work.
It is. It's an ongoing process,
Yeah.
but it's definitely worth the effort.
Okay.
And Greene provides some really practical tools to help us along the way.
Okay, so give me some tools.
One of the key concepts he talks about is what he calls the pause principle.
The pause principle. Okay, tell me more.
It's brilliantly simple, really,
Yeah.
before you react, especially in those moments when emotions are running high.
Yeah.
Take a conscious pause.
Okay.
It could be a few seconds, a few minutes,
Yeah.
even longer, if the situation allows. And this pause, what it does is it creates a space
Yeah.
between the stimulus and your response. So it allows your prefrontal cortex,
Okay.
which is the part of your brain responsible for rational thought,
Gotcha.
to catch up with your amygdala, which is driving that initial emotional reaction.
So it's like you're hitting that mental pause button.
Exactly.
Giving our rational brain a chance to weigh in before we maybe do something we regret.
Precisely.
I can see how that would be helpful, but honestly, like in the heat of the moment,
It's tough.
remembering to pause seems pretty challenging.
It is. It's tough, but like any skill,
Yeah.
it gets easier with practice.
Right.
The more you practice, the more natural it becomes
Yeah.
to create that space for rational thought.
So you build that muscle.
Exactly.
Right.
You
Yeah.
build that muscle, and those few seconds of pause, they can really make all the difference
Wow.
between a measured response and a regrettable reaction.
Okay, so I'm starting to get it now. Like the power of the pause principle.
Yeah.
It's not about suppressing our emotions.
No.
It's about creating space
Exactly.
to choose a more thoughtful response.
Exactly. It's about choice.
Okay.
It's about giving yourself that choice.
So we've got self-awareness, we've got the pause principle. What else can we do to kind of boost our rationality?
Well,
I'm all ears.
there's a lot more.
Ah.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature.
We're picking up right where we left off, exploring this idea of irrationality, how it impacts our lives, and what we can do to, gain more control over our emotional selves. And I think before the break, we were talking about Greene's pause principle,
Right.
hitting that mental pause button
Oh.
before reacting, especially in those emotionally charged moments.
Yes. It's such a powerful concept, that pause allows us to step back from that initial surge of emotions
Yeah.
and give our rational mind a chance to catch up. It's like creating this buffer zone
Yeah.
between feeling and reacting.
Okay, but in real life, those emotions can feel so intense, right? It's like they take over completely.
Yeah.
How do we actually implement this pause principle when things get really heated?
Well, that's where self-awareness comes in. The more we understand, our individual emotional triggers, the better equipped we are
Yeah.
to anticipate those moments when we might be prone to react impulsively.
So it's like, if I know that I tend to get defensive when I feel criticized,
Right.
I can be extra mindful in those situations,
Mm.
right? Like, okay, get ready to hit the pause button
Exactly.
before I say something I'll regret.
Exactly. And the more you practice pausing, the easier it becomes. It's like building a muscle,
Okay.
At first it takes effort,
Right.
but over time it becomes more and more automatic.
So you build up that pause muscle.
Exactly. You build up
Yeah.
that pause muscle.
Okay, so we're cultivating self-awareness. We're practicing the pause principle. What other tools does Green offer to help us navigate this tricky terrain of emotions?
Well, he talks about the importance of questioning our assumptions.
Okay.
And we often make decisions based on incomplete information or subconscious biases that we haven't even
Oh,
examined.
that's so true. I know I've been guilty of that, jumping to conclusions without really thinking things through.
Right.
So how do we stop making assumptions and start asking better questions?
Well, one technique Green suggests is simply asking yourself,
Okay.
why am I feeling this way? Or what assumptions am I making about this situation?
Okay.
And by taking a moment to examine our thoughts and feelings,
Yeah.
we can start to identify those hidden biases that might be clouding our judgment.
So instead of just reacting to a situation based on our initial gut feeling,
Yeah,
we're taking a step back and questioning that gut feeling.
exactly.
Seeing if it's actually leading us in the right direction.
Precisely. And sometimes, that gut feeling might be spot on,
Right.
but other times it might be based on outdated beliefs or past experiences, or even just plain old fear.
Okay, so questioning our assumptions. Got it. This is already making me think about all those times I've let my emotions get the best of me.
Yeah.
What else can we do to break these patterns?
Yeah.
Well, Green also emphasizes the power of observing other people's emotional patterns.
Okay.
Like you're getting this real-life case study
Interesting.
in emotional intelligence.
So like paying attention to how other people react in different situations,
Exactly.
because I guess we can learn a lot from watching how people handle their emotions, both effectively and ineffectively.
Absolutely. It's like having a front row seat
Yeah,
to the human drama.
it is.
And by observing how others navigate their emotional landscapes, we can glean these valuable insights into our own patterns and reactions.
Yeah.
Plus, it can help us develop more empathy and compassion for others,
Right.
which is never a bad thing.
That's true. It's like instead of getting caught up in our own emotional dramas,
Right?
we're expanding our perspective. We're seeing things from this wider lens.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're observing others. We're questioning our assumptions. We're practicing that pause principle.
Yes.
We're cultivating self-awareness. Is there anything else we can add to this emotional toolkit? Well, Green suggests something quite interesting. He talks about the importance of cultivating a calmer environment.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Imagine trying to solve a complex equation in a noisy, chaotic room. Your mind is going to be scattered, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's the same with our emotions.
Okay.
If we're constantly surrounded by chaos and stimulation,
Right.
it's going to be that much harder to access our rational minds.
So you're saying that our external environment can actually influence our internal state.
Absolutely. They're interconnected.
Wow.
And this doesn't mean we all need to go live in silent retreats or anything.
Right.
It's more about making conscious choices
Yeah.
about what we allow into our space. both physically and mentally.
So like decluttering our homes, being mindful of the information we consume, even setting boundaries with people who maybe drain our energy.
Exactly. It's about creating a space where we can feel grounded and centered,
Yeah.
where our minds can settle and our emotions can find equilibrium.
Okay, I like that because if I'm constantly bombarding myself with, stressful news or hanging out with people who are always amped up, it's going to be harder to find that inner peace,
Right.
right?
Precisely.
Okay.
By creating a calmer environment both externally and internally,
Yeah.
we're giving our rational minds a fighting chance.
This is starting to feel like a complete lifestyle shift.
It is. It is.
It's not just about changing our thinking, it's about creating a space
Yeah.
that supports our emotional well-being.
It's all interconnected, really.
Yeah?
Our thoughts, our emotions, our environment, they all influence one another.
So true.
And by being mindful of all these elements, we can create a more balanced and fulfilling life experience.
All right, so we're cultivating a calmer environment. What other gems does Greene offer up? I'm ready for more.
Well, he talks about the importance of understanding our own emotional history.
Okay.
It's like, becoming an archaeologist
Interesting.
of our own psyches.
I like that.
Yeah.
So digging deep into our past experiences
Exactly.
to understand, what makes us tick,
Right.
what triggers those intense emotional reactions.
Exactly. By understanding the roots of our emotional patterns,
Yeah.
we can gain greater control over them.
Okay.
It's like you're shining a light on those subconscious biases and beliefs
Yeah.
that can lead to irrational behavior.
This is making me think about all those times I've reacted impulsively without really understanding why. It's like suddenly I'm seeing those situations in a whole new light.
Right, and that's the beauty of self-awareness.
Yeah.
It empowers us to make different choices, more conscious choices.
So how do we go about uncovering this emotional history?
Yeah.
Is it like therapy where we delve into our childhood?
It can be therapeutic, for sure,
Okay.
but it doesn't necessarily require years on the couch.
Okay.
Greene suggests simple exercises like keeping an emotional journal.
The emotional journal, tracking our emotional responses throughout the day.
Exactly.
It's like becoming a detective of our own emotions.
Exactly. It's a
Yeah.
powerful tool for identifying patterns and triggers.
Mm-hmm.
You can also reflect on specific events from your past.
Okay.
Analyze your emotional reactions. Ask yourself, why did I feel that way?
Yeah.
What was going on in my life at that time?
Right.
Sometimes just the act of bringing those memories to the surface can be incredibly insightful.
It's like connecting the dots between our past experiences and our present behaviors. So fascinating.
And once we understand those connections, we can start to rewrite the narrative.
Right.
We can choose to respond differently to break those negative patterns.
It's like taking back control of the steering wheel instead of letting our emotions drive us off a cliff.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got understanding our emotional history as another crucial element in this rationality toolkit. Anything else we need to add?
Well, Greene highlights the importance of detaching from the opinions of others. We often get so caught up in what other people think.
Yes.
And we allow their judgments to influence our decisions.
I am so guilty of this, especially in today's world where social media is constantly bombarding us with everyone else's opinions. It's hard not to get swept up in it all.
Absolutely. It's a challenge. But Greene argues that true rationality requires this independence of thought.
Okay.
We need to develop the ability to think critically, to evaluate information objectively, without being swayed by the opinions of the crowd.
That's easier said than done.
It is. It takes practice.
Right.
But I guess it comes back to self-awareness, right?
Yeah.
Recognizing when we're being influenced by those external pressures and then making a conscious effort to detach.
Okay, so it's about cultivating that inner strength, that sense of self-reliance.
Exactly. Remembering that the opinions of others are just that they're opinions.
Right.
They don't define who you are or what you're capable of.
Wow, that's so empowering.
It is.
It's like, thanks for your input, but I'm going to do me.
Right. Exactly. Okay, so we've added detaching from the opinions of others to our toolkit. Anything else before we wrap up this part? One final point Greene emphasizes is the importance of embracing uncertainty. As humans, we crave certainty, we crave predictability.
Right.
But the reality is, life is full of unknowns.
Oh, tell me about that. It feels like every time I think I've got things figured out, life throws a curveball my way.
Exactly. And our irrationality often stems from this resistance to uncertainty.
Okay.
We try to control things that are ultimately uncontrollable.
So how do we deal with this? Do we just have to accept that life is going to be this chaotic mess?
Well, not necessarily. It's not about passively accepting chaos,
Okay.
but rather about developing a mindset of flexibility,
Right.
adaptability.
Okay.
Green encourages us to embrace the unknown, to see it as an opportunity for growth and learning.
It's like shifting our perspective from fear and resistance to curiosity and possibility.
Exactly. When we embrace uncertainty, we open ourselves up to new experiences, new perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
We become more resilient, more adaptable to the ever-changing nature of life.
This is so profound. It's like instead of trying to force life into this neat little box, we're learning to dance with the chaos.
Beautifully put.
Right.
And that's the essence of mastering our emotions, embracing the full spectrum of human experience,
Yeah.
the good, the bad, and the uncertain.
This has been an incredible journey so far.
It has.
Listener, how are you feeling? A bit overwhelmed? Maybe take a deep breath. We know it's a lot to take in, but that's why we're breaking it down. Like this, stick with us for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore how to put all of these powerful tools into practice. Okay, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be here.
So we've been exploring Robert Greene's The Laws of Human Nature, and honestly, this deep dive has really got me thinking about
Yeah.
how much power our emotions have over our choices.
It's true, and I think we often underestimate the influence of our emotions.
Yeah, we do.
But the good news is,
Right.
the more we understand these forces, the better equipped we are to actually harness them for good.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already. Self-awareness, the pause principle,
Right.
questioning our assumptions, observing others, understanding our emotional history, detaching from those external opinions, even embracing uncertainty.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It is.
It's like we're building this whole new toolkit
Yeah.
for navigating life's challenges.
Right. And remember, we're not talking about becoming, emotionless robots or anything.
No.
Emotions are a vital part of what makes us human.
Absolutely.
It's about finding that balance, that
Yes.
sweet spot,
Finding that sweet spot.
where we can acknowledge and honor our emotions, but not let them, completely dictate our every move.
Right. It's not about suppressing them.
Yeah.
It's about understanding them.
Right. Okay, so we have all these amazing tools at our disposal, but I have to admit, it can feel a bit overwhelming. Like, where do we even begin to put all of this into practice?
That's a great point.
Life doesn't exactly hit the pause button while we're busy mastering our emotions.
Right. And I think Greene offers some really practical guidance on this.
Yeah.
He talks about the importance of creating what he calls a calm environment
Okay.
for ourselves, and not just physically,
Right.
but mentally and emotionally as well.
Yeah, we touched on this earlier. Like, external chaos can really fuel that internal turmoil.
Absolutely.
But creating a calm environment in today's world, it feels almost impossible. Like, we're bombarded with information and stimulation and demands from every direction.
It's definitely a challenge,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's impossible.
Okay.
And the key is to remember that it's not about achieving this kind of perfect Zen-like state.
Right.
It's more about making those conscious choices,
Okay.
little by little,
Right.
to create more space for peace and clarity in our lives.
Okay, so what would that look like in practice? Like, give me some examples.
Well, it could be as simple as decluttering your physical space.
Oh, yeah.
A clean and organized environment can do wonders
That's true.
for your mental clarity.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah.
I know I feel so much more at peace when my surroundings are tidy.
Me too. What else?
Okay, what else?
Being mindful of the information you consume.
Okay.
Do you really need to be scrolling through social media for an hour before bed? Maybe swap that out for, a calming book or a relaxing conversation with a loved one.
Okay, so guilty of the social media scroll before bed.
I think we all are.
Yeah. I know it doesn't exactly set me up for restful sleep, but it's like this hard habit to break.
It is. It's a hard habit to break.
Yeah.
But again, it's about small steps. Maybe start by setting a time limit for yourself, or choosing to follow accounts that inspire and uplift you rather than ones that trigger stress and anxiety.
Okay. That feels manageable.
Right.
What about those people in our lives who, well, let's just say they don't exactly radiate calmness?
Right.
How do we create a calmer environment when we can't exactly control the people around us?
That's where setting boundaries comes in.
Boundaries. Okay.
It's not about cutting people out of your life.
Right.
But it is about being mindful
Yeah.
of how much time and energy you're willing to give
Right.
to certain relationships. Remember, you have the right to protect your own emotional well-being.
Boundaries. Right. Something I'm working on. It's hard. Sometimes it feels selfish.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to realize that it's actually an act of self-care.
It is.
So we've got decluttering, curating our information intake, setting boundaries, any other tips for kind of cultivating this elusive, calm environment?
Well, Greene also talks about the power of rituals.
Okay.
Rituals,
Rituals.
small intentional acts
Right.
that help you connect with yourself to quiet the noise of the outside world.
I like that. Like, what kind of rituals are we talking about?
It could be anything that resonates with you. A morning meditation practice, a walk in nature, listening to calming music, even just taking a few deep breaths
Mhm.
before you jump into your day.
I love that it's like creating these little pockets of peace
Yes.
throughout our day so we don't get completely swept away by the current of chaos.
Exactly. Exactly. And, the more we practice these rituals, the more
That
they
that
become ingrained habits.
right.
It's about training our minds,
Mm,
just like we train our bodies at the gym.
right.
We're building emotional resilience.
Yeah.
We're strengthening our capacity for peace and presence.
Okay. I'm feeling very zen right now. This has been such an incredible conversation.
It has.
So insightful and thought-provoking. So, listener, what resonates with you most from our deep dive into the laws of human nature? What will you take with you? Maybe it's starting that emotional journal, hitting that pause button before reacting, or creating a calming ritual. Whatever it is. We hope you've gained some valuable insights into the power of mastering your emotional self. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination, and every step you take towards greater self-awareness is a step towards a more fulfilling and empowered life. Thanks for joining us. Now